This is California Speed for the Nintendo 64, developed by Atari Games and published by Midway in 1999. This game has been on my radar for years, but I only got around to playing it a couple weeks ago. It's a very simple arcade driving game with tracks based on real-world locations in California, and these tracks make sure you see all the sights, even if it means driving your car indoors or inside a volcano. I was a little surprised by the amount of content here. I counted 11 tracks to race on, and read that you can unlock even more. These tracks aren't short either, averaging around 2.5 minutes to complete. There are around a dozen or so cars to choose from as well, complete with surprisingly deep color customization. I've spent far too much time tweaking my color values just to get the perfect Fast and Furious orange. I think these cars might drive a little differently from each other, but the game doesn't show you any stats, so you just have to try different cars and make your own judgment calls. I tend to bounce around a lot just to keep things interesting because they feel mostly the same. California Speed offers some basic game modes to choose from. You can do single races, race in tournaments, or practice on your own. I think the ideal way to experience this game is by playing the original arcade mode and racing every track in one sitting. Take a full sightseeing tour of California, or as the game calls it, do the state. Let's do the state.
On your mark, get set, go!
And let's talk about driving mechanics while we're at it. The first thing I noticed when I booted this game up is that these steering controls are touchy. You don't so much turn your car as you do swing it into position, and the back end shoots in for some kind of aggressive course correction. It takes some time to get used to, and it can be difficult to make small adjustments without wiggling all over the road. These cars are intensely front-wheel drive, meaning they would much rather understeer than drift. They don't take damage, and don't even seem to be slowed down by going off-road. Their sole purpose is to drive in a straight line very quickly, which I guess is okay in a game like this that relies mostly on straightaways and gentle curves. Your main enemy in this game is oncoming traffic. These California roads were not cleared for racing, so be ready to juke a car at a moment's notice. The computer cars even get overwhelmed sometimes and tend to just eat head-on collisions in the middle of a race. It's bad news if you do take a hit, because these cars accelerate slowly, and winning races in California Speed is all about staying at top speed for as long as possible. Try to avoid slowing down for corners if you can help it. These cars decelerate like nobody's business, and be ready to block other cars if you do slow down. The first place car makes almost no mistakes and drives just as fast as you do, which can create many annoying races where you're right on their tail, and no matter how well you drive, you just can't. That's frustrating. I wouldn't say this game is difficult, though. It's actually pretty easy to win arcade mode or championships. Finishing in first place can be challenging, sure, but setting good times and doing well enough to score points in a tournament is easy breezy. It's almost relaxing in a way. If I mess up, I know it's not the end of the world, and I can just focus on doing as well as I can without getting first place. And if I mess up real bad, oh my god, I can just restart the race and try again. Couldn't do that in the arcades. So the AI is a little goofy, and the driving is a little goofy, but that's not why you're here. The real star of California Speed is the scenery. This game is a lot like a Disney ride. You hop in your car, follow the track, and enjoy all the cool decorations they've put up for you. And I will say, as far as cool and fun California scenery goes, this game does a pretty good job. I'm happy to see that most of these assets are fully 3D. Midway also published the Cruisin' games on N64, and those relied really heavily on photos and 2D assets for decoration. So I'm happy to see stuff like these big ol' satellite dishes rendered in 3D. I do think it makes the graphical performance of the game suffer a bit, though, and the frame rate isn't quite as smooth as I would have hoped. There's a decent amount of fog in the game, but the draw distance honestly isn't bad. And thank goodness, too, because I can't imagine trying to dodge traffic that hasn't even been rendered in yet. Performance hiccups aside, I'm really happy with the visual design and the creativity in these tracks. I love driving on the roller coaster. I love driving on the aircraft carrier. I love when things get all trippy and futuristic in Silicon Valley. I love crossing the Golden Gate Bridge way up on the suspension cables. The whole time I was playing through arcade mode, I was turning to whoever was in the room and saying stuff like, "Look, look, we're driving in a spaceship!" There's something kind of timeless about this game. It won't blow you away, but it doesn't ask much from you either. It just wants to show you some beautiful polygonal sights on your N64. That part in Yosemite when you round the corner and the waterfalls come into view, it just doesn't get much better than that. It really is relaxing, especially when you're cruising on winding roads and that music is playing. Well, sometimes the music rocks a little bit harder. This soundtrack is pretty good. It's catchy, there's a nice variety of musical styles here, and the audio quality is high for the N64. Sometimes music will get super compressed on one of these cartridges, so it's nice to hear it sounding so clear. California Speed isn't the kind of game you sit down with for a long time. The content just isn't deep enough to keep you around for long. In small doses, I think it succeeds, but it isn't as engaging or as fun as it should have been. I think the biggest problem is that there are too many sections where nothing much really happens, and you just kind of drive in a straight line for a while. And when a hairpin turn does finally show up, it doesn't feel very satisfying to take it because your handling is so stiff, and slamming into the wall is usually the fastest way to get around it. In spite of its flaws, California Speed is creative and cool, and I enjoyed my time with it. But you'll probably get a little more out of other Midway racing games on the N64, like Cruisin' World or the Rush games. California Speed does have a super-powered golf cart, though, and that's just fun. If you're looking to buy this game, it's pretty affordable and easy to find. As of late 2020, when this video was recorded, loose cartridges go for around $15, and complete copies go for around $30. That's honestly a steal for an N64 box. Those things are hard to find.